We always find our way back home.
Welcome to Homegrown, the show where we introduce you to the people and stories that shape the character of life in Arkansas. I'm Dawn Scott, and today we're talking about those special Arkansans making an impact, whether in the classroom, the basketball court, or community at large. These are the difference makers working toward a better Arkansas. We'll meet a junior high band teacher who talks the talk and walks the walk for her students. Then we'll travel back in time to 1971 and learn about an Arkansas pioneer and her uphill battle for recognition. We'll catch up with a musical summer camp that helps young girls find their voices and their self-confidence. And meet a poet whose passion for self-expression strives to make his neighborhood a little more beautiful. But first, let's head to Fayetteville, where Danyelle Mussellman, the wife of Razorback basketball coach Eric Mussellman, is making a big difference away from the court with philanthropic work that truly changes lives.
I grew up moving all around. I was actually born in St. Louis, but I lived in, 4 or 5 states. I finally ended up going to high school outside of Atlanta, Georgia. So when people ask where I'm from, I say Atlanta, but really, I was living all over the United States before then. I always remember being a sports fan. My dad was a huge sports fan, and he took me to baseball games and basketball games from the time when I was little. I actually started out thinking that I wanted to go to film school. And I remember clearly freshman year, I took a film class and I hated it. So immediately I knew that that's not what I wanted to do. And finally I settled in on sportscasting. And the funny thing about that is, looking back, I always was a broadcaster. You know, I used to do plays. I was always the kid that wanted to read the radio announcements. That is where my true passion and talent always was, but it just took a little bit longer for me to kind of put it all together and realize, hey, you want to be a sports anchor. There were people that I looked up to, like Robin Roberts and Pam Oliver, that were there, but it wasn't like I turned on the TV every day and saw people that looked like me. So whenever I met Coach Mussellman, I just remember talking to him and thinking how funny and how nice he was. I didn't think he was interested in me at all. And then at the end of the conversation, he asked me for my phone number. So I was like, oh, okay, there's something here. He started talking about marriage like 6 months later. It was awesome. A year later, we were married. Whenever we were at the University of Nevada, we kind of knew we were not going to leave unless it was something that really felt right. And whenever Arkansas came along, that was something that really felt right.
Let's go! Let's go! Come on, let's go!
Sports broadcasting was absolutely my passion. I worked so hard on it for, 15 years. But then whenever I stepped away, I was a little scared because I didn't know what my next passion was going to be. And it definitely took time. I didn't wake up the next morning and say, now I'm going to fundraise. It took time.
As we prepare to come together to raise funds for pediatric cancer research and lodging, I just want to take a minute to thank a group of people that have made this evening possible and everything that it is. So thank you so much to our Suits and Sneakers 2022 committee.
So now the philanthropy is something that I'm so proud of. I've lived in, 13 or 14 different states. We have had so many jobs between us, and so I just think who I am right now is a busy mom and wife. And 10 years from now, it's going to be something completely different, and that's okay.
What an inspiration. Danyelle has used her platform to kickstart Coaches vs. Cancer on the U of A campus. Nationally, Coaches vs. Cancer has raised over $130 million since it began in 1998. It's no wonder at all that Danyelle was chosen as 2023 Woman of Inspiration by the Children's Advocacy Centers of Arkansas. Some people are simply born as the life of the party, and Leah LaFollette is one of those people. Leah is a unique educator, making a difference for her students from behind the podium during the school week and from the stage on a Friday night.
1 and a 2 and a 1, 2, 3, let's go.
Music to me is like freedom, opportunities, it's fun. magical sometimes, just because you've been there when you've been like in the dumps and all of a sudden like your jam comes on and all of a sudden you get 10% happier than what you just were before that song came on or that piece of music has started playing, or you find yourself all of a sudden doing air guitar with a broom when you should be just sweeping the kitchen. I mean, those kind of things happen, and that's what music is. It's magic. So I've been teaching band for 16 years, and I love it a lot. I love it a whole lot. Having a bunch of people come together that have never touched an instrument or they know about music and creating like a piece of something fun.
She's a really good teacher, and I enjoy her teaching style.
She's inspired me in a lot of ways, honestly. She's helped me to be overall more confident because I am a very timid person. She has helped me come out of my shell a lot.
Because as soon as they know they sound good in public, they're going to eat it up and love it. I have been with the Big Damn Horns since they started. We're a 10-piece person band, sometimes 12, sometimes 13, depending on who's in town.
I hope y'all are having some fun.
I've gotten to experience a whole lot, I'll say that. Just like with all the other music, like the experiences that you get being in an ensemble, things you never would have gotten to experience or go or meet people that you never would have in your life have met. What I've gotten from being in a rock band versus being in an education setting, they're really interchangeable because you're in front of people regardless. You're always in front of a group of people trying to get them to do something, whether it be dancing or whether it be motivating them to play something better or just have a good atmosphere and like give them some energy to do something. So in an education setting with this age group of middle school, I am very used to being on and being silly. Like all of a sudden I just may break out in song and dance and just cha-cha, cha-cha, cha-cha. And just like the kids sometimes are like, Kathy. I feel like I do that in front of the adults that are at our shows because sometimes they want to be silly, but there's no one that started, you know, like as they say, let's go warm up the dance floor, that kind of thing. So I find that those two things are interchangeable.
I hope you guys are having a good time. Now remember, this is a dance floor. This is a sanctioned area, from what I understand. Yes, sir, exactly, just like that. Just like that.
It's really good to know that she can do something like teaching at like a full-time job and be part of the rock band.
For our junior academy kids to just be able to play and show off the hard work that they've done and show their parents, like, look, this is what commitment looks like and this is what it sounds like to play something and be amazing. I love that people see value in it and they enjoy it.
Leah LaFollette is making a difference in how her junior high students see their teachers as well as their future. She's walking to the beat of her own drum and teaching others to do the same. Women like Danyelle Mussellman and Leah LaFollette have made a difference while in the spotlight, but sometimes the world doesn't take notice of the differences we make, at least not at first. Little Rock native Ray Montague spent most of her career overlooked despite her incredible accomplishments as a naval engineer who broke down barriers and produced pioneering work, but that never hindered her passion or drive. Here she is telling her story.
My mother told me, she says, Ray, you'll have 3 strikes against you. You're female, you're black, at that time the terminology was Negro, and you'll have a Southern segregated school education. But you can do or be anything you want to be, but you've got to be educated and work hard. When I was about 7 years old, this was during World War II, the United States captured a German Miniature submarine off of the coast of the Carolinas, and they brought it to downtown Little Rock on tour. And my grandfather took me down to see it. And I looked through the periscope and saw the dials and mechanism. And I said, what do you have to know to do this? And the guy giving the spiel said, you'd have to be an engineer, but you don't ever have to worry about that. Well, I didn't realize I'd been insulted. So that was my goal. I decided at 7 I was going to become an engineer. And I remember when I was in 8th grade, I had a history teacher, and kids were talking about what they wanted to be when they grew up. And of course I said I wanted to become an engineer. They laughed at me because they thought I wanted to drive a train. Mrs. Holliday called me aside and she said, don't get upset about them laughing at you. Aim for the stars. At the very worst, you'll land on the moon. And the day after I graduated, I marched off to Washington, D.C., fanned my resume around, and ironically enough, the Navy was the first group to call me in for an interview. And even with a college degree, they started me at the bottom of the ladder. On the UNIVAC 1, it was the first commercially available computer. I said, John, teach me to operate the computer. He said, no. If I teach you to operate the computer, you'd have my job. And I walked over to the computer and I started to replicate what I had seen him doing. But anyway, he came out and he stood there and watched me. And finally he said, Ray, I didn't know you knew how to operate the computer. I said, I don't. He said, well, what are you doing? I said, well, I know how to do enough to get my job done. He said, fine. You know more than any of the rest of us. So from now on, this is your job. In 1971, President Nixon wanted a new ship designed. But instead of it taking 2 years to do the rough draft, as had been the history of the Navy, he wanted the Navy to produce this in 2 months. The admirals gave me 1 month to do it, and I did it in 18 hours and 26 minutes. Remember, I was told you can't all the way. Well, that's an obstacle. You might have to drop back and create a challenging situation out of it and go a different direction. It might take you a little longer, but you can achieve and excel. I did.
Ray Montague and countless women of color like her went unappreciated during their careers until Margot Lee Shetterly published her book, Hidden Figures, in 2016. Shetterly's book and the subsequent film adaptation told the story of 3 African-American women, Mary Jackson, Katherine Johnson, and Dorothy Vaughan, who were integral to America winning the space race in the 1950s. After the film's success, there was renewed interest in rediscovering the stories of other hidden figures lost to American history. And so 45 years after she taught herself to program one of the Navy's earliest computers, Ray Montague was finally recognized for her groundbreaking work. Danyelle Mussellman, Leah LaFollette, and Ray Montague. That's quite a bit of Arkansas girl power. The teachers at Little Rock's Trust Tree program are working to help a new generation of Arkansas girls find their voice and self-confidence with the power of music.
Ready, set, go! Woo!
I can't even, guys, the emotion. Trust Tree Programs is a nonprofit organization here in Little Rock. We offer songwriting and recording camps for girls between the ages of 9 and 16.
For us, this camp is about helping these women figure out how to express themselves through words, music, instruments, whatever they feel like they need to express themselves through. It also is about confidence, making connections, learning to collaborate, learning to build each other up, learning how to get those feelings that are so deep inside of you and you don't know how to express them out. So we're trying to help these girls find themselves, find a way to express themselves, a way to be themselves without judgment.
Hopefully girls can come out of this experience feeling confident that they can be themselves, and that is good, and that there's not anything wrong with expressing who you are, and that it's important to do that.
This camp has been so cool for me. It's given me a lot of opportunities. My favorite thing that I got out of it was the ukulele, because I learned some chords on there, and that was the basis for my song my finished products. And we were also thinking that could be like my trademark, like when I do poetry, I could play the ukulele behind it, because I don't know how many poets that play the ukulele behind their poetry.
I need a little love and attention. I like you, you like me, so listen. Treat me like I am your muse, babe. Admire me in every single way. When I find the one man, I hope he's talented. If he can sing, I hope he sings for me, serenading me with the sweet sounds for me. If he's a poet, I hope he writes for me, recites for me lines about just how much he likes me.
The fact that this is all girls and being run by girls, for girls, about girls, is very inspiring, very motivating, very cool.
It's nice to have an all-girls camp, because there's not like boys bossing you around and being like, "Ba-ba-da-ba-da, you have to do this, oh, no. Like it's just girls.
One of our biggest messages that we can give these girls that are going through it, or any girl that's watching this, that your voice matters, that what you have to express matters, that your opinions are valid. You say something, you feel, oh, I'm not so confident about that, and then somebody pokes fun of it, and then you shrink inside. And I just want them to always feel like what they have to say and what they think about something is really meaningful, and it's really important, and it's important to not only be said, but to also be heard.
That piece was completed in 2018, and since then, Trust Tree has grown by leaps and bounds. If we took the artistic vision of the Trust Tree musicians and combined it with the community focus of Danyelle Mussellman, we might end up with something not far from what Chris James is doing. A nationally recognized poet, children's book author, playwright, and teacher, James is making a difference in the lives of his audience, students, and community, working from his home base, the House of Art in North Little Rock.
Doesn't mean you don't. Sometimes you just gotta be patient, because maybe your miracle's marinating and your blessing is still baking, and you can't rush perfection. God is an artist, so respect his. You are a magnificent masterpiece made in the image of the Most High. With the faith of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. Now that's magic.
Today I got to sit down with the creative and entrepreneur Chris "The Journey" James. We chopped it on a wide range of topics, including his creative process, his favorite works, his influences, and even a little self-care talk.
I've always, existed in a colorful way. And it's always just been a passion of mine to show my mind in color, So I started writing poetry in the 7th grade. Freshman year of college, I got to perform, at an open mic, and then that just kind of grew into a lot of different things, I started figuring out, how can I take poetry and do all these other things, I was exposed to Ntozake Shange, that she turned 21 poems into a stage play, and I'm like, oh, shoot, I can do that too. So Chris James went from an open mic poet to a playwright.
As a creative, doing so much, and I fit a lot of those boxes, what would you say has been some of the harder, not just moments, but hindrances? What are some ongoing problems you have to overcome?
Man, one of the ongoing problems as an artist that I have to consistently overcome is getting people to understand the value of art and to understand how significant art and creativity is to any movement, to, rather it's to their business, even with me owning an art gallery, people come in here and they see art on our walls and they say, $1,000 for that? And I'm like, yeah, I wear my shirts all the time that say poetry and chill or right said the poet, right? And it begins a conversation, right? So my shirt serves as an alleyway or entry point into my art somehow inspiring some type of action. And that action may be inspiring them to want to come to an open mic. But so an artist puts out their art to the world and they inspire action. And that action may very well just be conversation, but that conversation leads to a lot. Because conversation, word of mouth, makes me as an artist, you know, a decent amount of money sometimes, you know? And you can attest to that because word of mouth, you know, takes a lot of businesses from here to skyrocket. You know, I do my best as an artist, again, to do what I'm moved to do. So for me, I think if an artist is emotionally moved to create, then it becomes a responsibility to put it out to the world because your art is not just for you, it's for somebody else. You know, first is for you to get it out, but secondly, when you create it, it's now time to share it with the world because somebody needs to hear or to experience what you just created.
Speaking on how you create for yourself, but you also create for the crowd. Like when, from your creations, what do you hope they get from it when you create?
I simply want people to feel, right? Like if one person in the audience feels something, you know, from my art, good. I want people to cry when they experience my art. I want them to laugh, right? But I want them to leave that auditorium or that coffee shop feeling somewhat different than they did when they came in. Just like church. When you come to church, you're supposed to leave the way you came in. Right. I want my art to be like church. You know, I call myself the journey because I want people to feel like they have experienced a road trip of emotions, right? After they've experienced my art.
Right.
Realize that your voice is significant, right? As it relates to this movement, as it relates to, you know, the next thing that's gonna happen, you know, in the world, realize that what you have to say, what you have to share, what it is that you wanna do is significant, is of value. And what you feel is valid, right? And it's important that you put that out to the world. The way that you feel, it should be put out to the world. And don't let anybody or anyone stifle that creativity, that desire to execute on that idea. Just do it.
Oh, man. Appreciate your time, man. Yeah. As we doing Road to Love now, for sure,
all
man.
That was a socially distant hug.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What is?
Hey, man.
I'm good.
Y'all want a hug?
Nah, maybe in 2 years. Already.
All right.
For sure.
Yeah.
One more time. You got a lot to smile for you. You got a lot to live for you. You got a lot to do for you. You can't give up now.
Yeah. Man, that's a positive brother right there. Although I'm anti-Rona hugs, I am down for his progressive mindset. Art inspires action is his code, and by a sizable community impact, you can tell he lives by it. Wouldn't you know, Chris James got the glow. I celebrate.
Making a difference can mean different things for different communities. Maybe it's teaching, or building, inspiring, or maybe creating. Regardless of how we choose to do it, the bar has been set high by these awesome Arkansans. Are you up to the challenge? That's it for this episode of Homegrown. Thank you for sharing your time with us. And please take a moment to appreciate the people whose hard work has gone into making this show. We'll see you next time.
This city can't change us. We beat to the same drum, the same drum. No matter where we go, we always find a way back home. No matter where we go, we always find a way back home. So here's to the cheap sunglasses, Red Bull and minivans.